Welcome back to Monday Night Live.
An entrepreneur that has been disrupting the lead generation industry.
Introducing your host, Nathaniel Bibby.
LinkedIn marketer of the year. Named Nathaniel Bibby.
Welcome to Monday Night Live. If you're new here, I'm Nathaniel Bibby. Over 500 million in sales for our clients using LinkedIn strategies alone. Monday Night Live is your weekly dose of LinkedIn strategies, marketing tips, and business advice to get you to the next level. Monday night at 6 p.m. Perth time. So drop in the comments and say what's up.
Monday Night Live.
Hell yeah! Just got a notification. Social selling secrets is happening now. Drop in the comments, guys. Say what's up, guys. Say what's up. Truth be told, I've been experimenting with a few different times for Monday Night Live, and I just double checked because I thought it was at 4 p.m. Perth time today, 15 minutes ago, and then I realized we're on in 15 minutes. So here we are. Let's do this. Drop in the comments, guys. Let me know if you're here and where you're tuning in from. Everything seems to be working fine. Consultants, coaches, B2B founders, service providers, business professionals, this is for you. This webinar is for you. This Monday Night Live is for anybody that wants more sales through social media and specifically LinkedIn. So B2B, trust-based industries, professional services. If you're tired of sending cold DMs that lead nowhere or starting conversations that never lead into people turning into clients, today, tonight, this Monday Night Live is for you. So drop in the comments. Let's make this as interactive as possible, guys. And Hazel, welcome. So glad to see you pop up in the comments. I think when I experiment with different times, it does throw a few people off, but hopefully they'll catch the recording. We all know that buyers have changed, right? The way that people make buying decisions has changed. So that means if you're trying to sell like you're in 2015, you're more or less invisible. Okay, so what I mean by that is if people are making decisions differently, we need to be giving them information to help them make those decisions differently as well. I always talk about this, but don't try and sell to people. Nobody wants to be sold to. Help people buy. People do want to buy, right? So if you're the guy that can help them do that faster and feel like they've made a more informed decision, that's the way to social selling success. Is not actually by not selling at all, but to have that small mindset shift to help people buy. Welcome, Kevin from Brisbane. Good to see you here, mate. For those of you that are new here, I'm Nathaniel Bibby. Welcome back to Monday Night Live. My goal here is to build the biggest and baddest show on LinkedIn, weekly show on LinkedIn, I should say. And I've generated over $500 million in sales for my clients using LinkedIn strategies alone. So every week, Monday, we talk about marketing hacks, LinkedIn strategies, and tips for you to grow your business and take it to the next level. Completely free. Sometimes I have a bunch of guests on, sometimes just me. But every week's a different topic. And the idea is if you do commit to coming every Monday, by the end of the year, you'll have a completely different business because we talk about sales, marketing, and business growth. That's what we're all about here at Monday Night Live. And today we're talking about social selling, one of the most important ingredients of business success, sales, right? And most importantly, how to turn conversations into clients without pitching in the DMs. And when I say pitching, it's like just not selling to people, right? One of the biggest mistakes that people make is they assume that whoever they're speaking to has the need for what they offer. And another way I like to actually word it a little bit differently than have the need that, for the product that they offer. I think about B2B sales and professional services, even a lot of product-based businesses now that I think about it, as solving problems. You're solving problems, right? Especially if you're giving advice and that kind of thing. So I always look at it like, what's the problem that you're solving? Because people will always connect to the problem more than they will the solution. Why? Well, if they knew the solution, they probably would have solved the problem, right? So you can actually access a much wider audience if you talk about the problem. One of the biggest mistakes that B2B companies make and professional services companies make is they actually don't talk enough about the problem. They just go straight into the solution. If you define the problem that your target market has in better language and in simpler terms than they can, just by the fact that you've defined that problem so well, they will assume that you have a solution. Just assume, like, without you even going into the solution. Have you ever been on one of those calls with a sales guy and they're just like, or a consultant, I should say, where they've just asked you the right questions and you felt that like they really understood, they've repeated back, to you what you've said, and you felt, geez, this guy really gets me. He's asking some really good questions, and then at the end they just gave you a figure and closed you without going into like the whole solution. That's what I'm talking about here, right? Just understanding the problem. The best marketers in the world, their landing pages talk all about the problem that they solve, right? Because people will connect with the problem a lot more. It's not theory. This is what actually works. It's proven in the marketplace. And this is social selling is how I've generated it's now over 650 million in sales for our clients. It's probably a lot higher than that. I mean, that's the sales we know about while the clients are engaged, without spending any money on ads, without cold calling, without interrupting or annoying anyone, without spending $1 on ads, 650 million in sales. I actually find that obviously my clients would spend money on ads, but I find it's way more effective to not do that because you're actually building a relationship with the person on the other end. I'm all about using relationships to grow businesses, right? The more relationships that you have with the right people, the better your business should do. How do you have more relationships? Have more conversations, right? Social media is the best place to do it. I'll never forget being a member of a networking group on Chapel Street in Melbourne, BNI. Some of you may be familiar with BNI, and I used to go there every week for breakfast, and you'd all pay your $25 or whatever it was. You'd get 3 options of breakfast, and you'd go around the room, and everyone would get a minute to talk about their business. They just do a little pitch. And you would have to give, I think the quota was you had to give 1 or 2 referrals every week to another member of the group. And you wouldn't have more than one, digital marketing guy. You wouldn't have more than one chiropractor. So there would be no, competitors in the room, technically. And, after a while, because I was just internet marketing guy, I just felt like I was just giving referrals because they needed to cross someone off the list. And it was around the time that I started experimenting with LinkedIn. Now, back then, there was a photograph of me at a nightclub going like this as my profile pic. I kind of set it up a little bit like I did my Facebook page, to be honest. And I would have been, how long ago was that now? So that would have been 11 years ago. So I was 29, I think it must have been. And so I actually thought to myself, the best clients are medical practitioners. I wonder if they're on LinkedIn. I'd reached out to 10, I got 6 responses. 4 meetings and made 1 sale. But the sale that I made was it was a decent sale. Like the websites that we were generally selling back then were like 3 or 4 grand. That was the standard website sale. This website was 25 grand, plus it had like all this marketing stuff, recurring revenue after that. So it was a decent sized sale, almost as much as most people were doing in the entire month, just with 1 sale. And then the next week, I sent out twice as many messages. I sent out 20 messages to medical practitioners, had 12 meetings and made 2 sales, right? And it wasn't long before I was doing so many meetings that I had to delegate the LinkedIn activity to an assistant. And that's when I started to realize, if I can systemize this and delegate this, why can't businesses then delegate their LinkedIn lead generation to me? I was the first, my business that I started was the first LinkedIn marketing agency outside of the US. There was only 2 in the US doing it. And I mystery shopped them. And they were literally just selling connections. They called leads connections. They were basically going to send out 5,000 invitations to you and charge you 15 grand or something for the experience. So there wasn't actually anyone that was getting your foot in the door, booking the appointments and filling your calendar up. It got to the point where we were so good at it. I would hire a salesperson, and the first week that they joined, their calendar would be full. because I just take over their LinkedIn profile a week before, send out a bunch of connection requests and messages, and just book all these appointments into their calendar. So it's about being targeted, but it's also about what you say in the message. And over time, this has changed, right? Because what I used to say in the message, if I did it today, won't work anymore. Why? Because they're getting so many messages from other people that say the same thing. Does that make sense? So you can imagine if I started talking about this 10 years ago and the scripts that I was saying work the best, then, and like, I'm not saying that I'm responsible for, everyone who's using these scripts on LinkedIn, but, some people are hearing this and then they're using them and talking about it. A lot of people that went through my training ended up developing LinkedIn agencies and training courses themselves. But you've got to keep your knowledge upgraded. I'm running campaigns in 70 different industries right now. So I know what's working in real time. I can test and measure, like just changing a single word in a message makes all the difference. So one of the key criteria to a successful message is it can't be the same as what everyone else is sending at that point in time, right? Because most people, most high value clients will tell you, oh, I don't respond to those salesy messages on LinkedIn, right? But I'll say to them, do you remember how we first got in touch with each other? And they'll have to scratch their heads. And then they look back and they realize it was a LinkedIn message, because they don't realize that they are responding to the right ones. Because to them, it doesn't come across as a sales message. To them, that comes across as like somebody that already knows them or somebody they had a familiarity with. And therefore, they don't actually see that as a marketing or sales message at all. Hello, Christopher. Welcome. Nice to see you here, mate. I was just as surprised as I'm sure a lot of people are that it was at 1 o'clock today, or a bit earlier, 3 o'clock if you're over at East. But good to see a few of you here. We had a great response last week from the financial services one, and a lot of people tuning into the recording. That was an awesome response, actually. It wasn't a huge turnout, but we got a ton of companies getting in touch to do business, which is awesome. Look, here's what we're going to dive into today, I should say. We're going to talk about how to spark inbound conversations using content, DM frameworks. I'm going to give you a bunch of templates for content and for outbound messages. This is so practical, the stuff that I'm going to share with you today. How to build trust with C-suite decision makers, biggest mistakes that people are making when it comes to social selling. And I'm actually going to show you some slides today as well. So this is a lot of value. This is not about spamming your connections, and it's definitely not about crossing your fingers, posting content and hoping for leads, right? It's about building a system where trust leads to sale, that's scalable, and you're not annoying anyone along the way. Okay. So when I started my business, a lot of you will know that I, started broke and used LinkedIn to get an appointment in the day I started and made a $15,000 sale, right? The thing is, I didn't actually pitch anything at all. I mean, most of the time when I'm offering clients, we're doing lead generation for clients, all we're trying to sell is a meeting. And these days, you just want as little friction as possible. So that meeting ideally should just be over the phone or a Zoom or what, but be clear on what it is. You need to lead the way. You don't want to give people options, right? You don't want to say, we can do a meeting, we can do a coffee. Like, you tell them what to do next, and just do the low friction one, which is generally going to be a call, or it could be a Zoom link or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But I make them 15 minutes max. Now, there's a couple of things that happen when you do that for 15 minutes. First of all, the person you're sending to thinks, oh, it's only 15 minutes. I make it really clear. The URL actually says bibby.consulting/15 min. So it's very clear. It's 15 minutes. If they're not the right fit or it's not the right time, you don't want to waste your time on that phone call. You don't want to spend too much time telling them about what you do, because what you want to do is save that for when it is the right time, right? Because otherwise you've got no reason to speak to them later on. And so you got to find out pretty quickly if now's the right time. But that 15 minutes, it's a low commitment. So they think, okay, yeah, let's see what he's got to say. But also some people are like, oh my God, I've only got you for 15 minutes. I need to get as much value out of this as possible. And look, I always leave a bit of time after the 15-minute call if I need to go over longer. But most of the time, I'm just booking in a second appointment, right? These subtle things make a huge difference. A lot of people will send like, oh, you get a free 45-minute like financial health check. I'm giving away 45 minutes. It's so much value. This is worth $700 or whatever. It's not just because it's 45 minutes or it's longer doesn't make it more valuable at all. It's actually harder to make something more valuable in less time. If I can make something twice as valuable as what you do in 45 minutes, in 10 minutes, that's like 3 or 4 times, 5 times more valuable. And I used to make the same mistake as well. When I was like selling LinkedIn training, I used to like make it like let's say it's 8 hours and then therefore I can charge more. That's ridiculous. If you can do it in 3 hours, do it in 3 hours. That's way more valuable. Have confidence in what you do, right? So let me bring up some of these slides here. I'm going to skip through a few of them because it's just far too many. Sorry, we're skipping around a bit here, aren't we? You guys already know a bit about me. The opportunity on LinkedIn is real. Most people are missing out on it. And I will tell you this while we're here. The opportunity on LinkedIn will not be around in a year's time like it is right now. The opportunity on LinkedIn will not be around in a year's time like it is right now. Why is that? There's just the rate at which competition is moving onto the platform is just too much. It's just too much. I've seen this happen on every other platform, and it will become a pay to play. Like the amount of free attention versus paid attention, it's becoming almost like it's going to be 50-50 in a year's time. And there's just too much, there's so much competition, and it doesn't matter who you're connected with anymore. It's based on what people consume, right? So it's going to be a very competitive space. The chances are you're going to have to pay for ads to get the same amount of exposure. It's already way more difficult to add new connections. It'll be harder in a year's time. You'll notice like every few months, they're making it harder for you to use LinkedIn for free because they want you to pay to upgrade, right? And they want you to pay for ads. The ads have been pretty poor up until now. They're getting a lot better, don't get me wrong, but the amount of market share that LinkedIn could take when they get great at the ads is huge. Even just a small thing, right? Like they try to integrate thought leader campaigns. And I've been saying this to LinkedIn for years. You need to be able to sponsor individuals' posts, right? Because as soon as you can boost an individual's post at your company, you can imagine all these companies can be boosting all these different influencers within their company all the time. When you do a branded deal, brands are going to throw money on a piece of content that's doing well. So that hasn't really been done very well. Once that's done properly, LinkedIn are going to make an absolute fortune. There's about 1.2 billion members now on LinkedIn. People who say, oh, my clients aren't on there, that's nonsense. They are on there. There's definitely enough on there for you to do business with. It's just whether or not you can reach them, okay? So don't be so quick to dismiss LinkedIn. If you're in B2C, there are so many opportunities for you to grow your business by having B2B relationships, right? If you sell T-shirts, you could be contacting influencer companies that, can market your T-shirts. You could be contacting retail shops that can distribute your T-shirts, websites that can sell your T-shirts, people that you could do collaborations with. You could be, there's so many opportunities for you to have B2B relationships to grow your business that I wouldn't dismiss LinkedIn just if you're selling like $20 T-shirts or you're a band or whatever. There's so many opportunities on the platform that you won't find anywhere else. It's ranked the #1 most trusted social media platform. And that's been consistent for like the last 10 years. US digital trust surveys. I mean, they're all the same. They all put LinkedIn at the top. So LinkedIn's content is trusted 3 times more than the next best social platform, right? The content's trusted 3 times more by key decision makers, by business people. So what does that mean? That immediately tells me that content on LinkedIn is 3 times more than any other platform. If it's 3 times more valuable, then I would 1,000 views on LinkedIn and 3,000 views on Instagram. Do you know what? Like when I say it, when I say that out loud, I would much rather 1,000 views on LinkedIn than 20,000 views on Instagram, because my network is so much more targeted because I can control who's in it. Why is that? Well, because I can invite people to join it. I can invite people to connect. I can search by job title, industry, location. Things like that make a real big difference when you're in B2B or professional services. Financial advisors, lawyers, all those type of things. If you can narrow it down on people's professions, and then send them an invitation to connect. You got to remember, like on Instagram, you got to follow someone. You can't invite them to follow you. You either follow them or they follow you or whatever. Like it's the same as YouTube. They subscribe. Now you expecting your target market to press follow or press subscribe is very, very different then you sending them a personalized invitation saying, hey, I've checked out your profile, love what you're doing. I'd love you to come over here and, check out what we're doing. So an invitation, that's the same as like getting something in the mail, right? You're getting an invitation to the ball, to the party at the neighbor's house, right? You're not just hearing about it or seeing a poster somewhere, okay? I don't know. That was the first time I used that analogy, but it kind of works. That might have been tweaking. 4 out of 5 LinkedIn members, let me just make this a bit bigger for you. 4 out of 5 LinkedIn members drive business decisions. Audience on LinkedIn have 2 times the buying power of the average web audience. Audience on LinkedIn are 6 times more likely to convert. It's huge. We're going to talk about ways to sell on LinkedIn. Here are some of the ways: posting content, direct messaging. Those are the 2 I want to focus on here. We will cover some of the other ones, but before you do anything, you do need to optimize your profile. I'm going to go through this because a lot of times I skip this part because I just think that it's so self-explanatory. But I think I need to cover it because a lot of people are making this mistake. Like, you've got to get your profile right. It's the foundation of everything you do on LinkedIn. If you send somebody a message, you don't talk about yourself in the message. Why? Because they can click on your name and read your profile. Them clicking on your name is an inbound activity. That actually means they've asked for the information rather than you pushing it onto them. And that's why LinkedIn works so well compared to cold calling or direct mail. Because when you cold call someone, what do you have to do? First 15 seconds, who you are and why you're calling. You've got to do that because that's what they're wondering. If people are wondering that when they receive a message from you on LinkedIn, they just click on your name and they'll have a quick look at your profile. They'll read your headline. They'll see your cover photo. They'll see your profile photograph. And if you're lucky, they'll scan the about section. When I say scan, that means they'll read the first line, the last line, and they'll scan in between, right? So this is where the science of profile optimization comes from. It comes from user behavior. We want to do 3 things with profile optimization. We want to stand out from the competition. You don't want to look the same as everyone else. You want to look better than them, more reputable. You want to be the preferred provider. If somebody lands on your profile, you want to convert that opportunity to a lead. That's where you do the conversions on LinkedIn. You want to stand out from the competition. You want to rank high in the search results. That's where the optimization part comes into it. There's a bunch of stuff you can do for that. And then also the third thing is you want to stand up in the competition. The third thing is convert visitors to leads, right? So it's about conversion. Like when I used to design or sell websites, it was always about conversion-based design because people would pay fortune for this expensive website, but they would get no leads. There's actually a lot of things that you can do design-wise, having calls to action in the right place, having conversion hierarchy so that you can actually turn visitors into inquiries. So when I come across LinkedIn, I was like, looking at the framework of a LinkedIn profile, how do I maximize conversions, right? And there's a few things that you do on your profile that make a world of difference. As soon as you implement these 3 things, you can go from having no inquiries to getting like 3 or 4 inquiries a day because most people are getting profile views. And if you're sending out invites to connect, you're going to get profile views. But are those profile views leading to inquiries? I remember getting a call from a guy saying, hey, Nat, I've just gone viral for the first time. You got like a couple million views in 3 days. I was like, wicked. How many profile views have you got? And it was, thousands. Fantastic. How many leads have you got? None. Oh my goodness, what a disaster. You've been working so hard to create content that explodes. You've finally done it. And it's converted to profile views and you got no inquiries because your profile was never optimized the right way in the first place. So that's why this is so important to get right because you're not going to be ready when you do go viral if your profile is not optimized to convert visitors to leads. The most important thing that you have to remember when you're doing this is you have to tell people what to do next. If you don't tell people what to do next and they have to think about it, they're going to leave. They're going to leave. All right, make sure your photo is high resolution. It's worth getting a professional headshot done. You'll see a lot of these people with the one color background, like I've got in this example. So, it's one of those things that now that everyone's doing it, it doesn't stand out as much. What I suggest doing is looking at competition in your industry and see what they're doing and just doing it differently. Because it used to be enough for you, like everyone always had a picture in a suit and tie in front of a white wall. And it was enough to stand out to actually just go outside and take a photo under a tree. Then there was like a phase where people would take a black and white photograph to stand out. So you just want to stand out with your photograph, but it needs to be high quality, good lighting on your face. limit distractions, smile. You see how, I mean, I should probably be a bit more straighter. Like my head's a little bit slanted. Straight is confident, but having your neck in it builds trust. Having a bit of your shoulders, but close enough so that people can actually see your eyes. You got to remember, most people are scrolling LinkedIn on their mobile device. So have a look on the mobile device. Like, can you actually see your eyes? Because that builds trust. We are taught from when we were babies. Like my daughter's 3 years old, who I was just playing with a moment ago, and you know, they make eye contact naturally since babies. You know, so like that's how we instinctively build trust. So if your photograph is like down to your waist, people can't see your eyes, you're just missing out on that opportunity. Subtle things, but they make a big difference. Smile as well. A lot of people forget this. I'm saying basic stuff, but people get this wrong. We remember 20% of what we read, 80% of what we see. Our brains process visuals up to 60,000 times faster than text. Can you believe that? Here's, hey mate, how you doing? Welcome. Good to see you here. Your LinkedIn banner. So that's the background part of your profile. You have to be using this space because you got to think about it. If you're sending a message to somebody, if somebody sees your content, they will see your face in the feed, your profile photo, and most of your headline, like a part of your headline, not all of it. What are they going to be looking at when they click on your name and land on your profile? You're getting a message from them, or you see you in the newsfeed. They click on their name and read your look at your profile. The first thing they're going to see is the background photo, right? So it's really important. Make sure you're making use of the space. It doesn't matter. Like people will just, if they do anything with it, they'll just go, "Oh, make it look pretty." Okay. Don't just make it look pretty. Make it say something. Either drive people to your call to action, which might be a link in your profile or the featured section, or build credibility, make your value proposition really obvious. If you're a public speaker, have a photo of you speaking. Get it professionally designed. It amazes me that people will spend $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on their website and don't spend any money on their LinkedIn profile. Look, it costs you nothing to get a designer. It might be $500, $1,000 to get your profile professionally designed. Well, you can get it done with us for you get the whole profile done for less than $1,000. That's copywriting and everything. It's worth investing in because if people are looking for you on Google, they're going to find your LinkedIn profile. If people come across your content, it's the foundation of everything you do on LinkedIn. I think in most instances, it's more important than a website. I'd much prefer to start a business with a LinkedIn profile than a website, even if it had 0 followers, because it's much easier to rank at the top of Google, a LinkedIn profile, because it's on LinkedIn. They've got a score with Google of 100. Which means, you know, they're always going to rank really high. Familiarity is a big one as well. So if you're targeting businesses that are based in Ireland, have an aerial of a famous spot in Ireland, because that familiarity builds trust as well. So I always like think about who the target market is when I'm doing this. So if you're targeting affluent investors in Sydney, having that sort of nighttime aerial shot of the Opera House and the Sydney Harbour Bridge, like it does build credibility and, you know, looks quite premium, that kind of thing. So subconsciously it will have an impact. Yeah, I've rotated a bunch of different cover background photos over the years. This one is social proof. So like it's me with my audience looking very excited, and a couple of my awards are on the top. You notice that I did say posting daily, hit the notification bell to never miss a post. That notification bell on LinkedIn is pretty cool. Not many people are using it. The reason I removed that from my background photo is it's just too hard to read on a mobile. You got to always look on a mobile. Like 80% of people are looking on a mobile device. That was just too much text to read on a mobile device. This is what the CEO of LinkedIn has in it together. Very much a brand building type cover photo. This is a speaker, one of them speaking on a big stage, builds credibility. People who are hiring speakers are just looking not to mess up, right? Not to get fired, not to make a bad choice. So they just want to see that you've done it before. So showing that social proof is very important. This is very cool. Sales and marketing strategy. You've got us 3 different services there. I don't like the profile photo. He looks a bit miserable, to be honest. And then you customize the link there. That's where you can put a link in your profile. This will help with conversions. You see on this example, I've got book a free 15-minute call. Nico Stewart's here. Paid $1 gazillion for those professional headshots, mate. You should have called me. I've done a few professional photo shoots now. Getting pretty good with the old camera. book a free 50-minute call. You could have a link to your website. You could have a link to calendar. You could have a link to a video that you want them to watch. You can select a button, view my blog, view my website, whatever. There's an option there to do that as well. Your headline's quite important. That's what people are going to see when you show up in the feed. I suggest having something that's descriptive, that explains what you do. I mean, you can get creative with this. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's some people that are not doing it the way I suggest that have done really well. What you don't want to do is just have account manager at BD whatever company. Like, it doesn't say anything about what you do, doesn't add any value, doesn't say your unique value proposition, doesn't have any keywords. I will say this though, if you are targeting CEOs, having CEO in your headline helps. CEOs like to connect with other CEOs. I've noticed that one with client campaigns. I've got growing businesses with LinkedIn lead generation in there. That describes exactly what I do. 2 times best use of LinkedIn award winner, bit of credibility, and speakers in there mainly as a keyword, because a lot of event organizers will use this use LinkedIn to search for speakers. Avoid bragging. You don't have to tell people how great you are. I know it might seem like I'm bragging when I say 2 times best use LinkedIn award winner. Yeah, maybe you could say that, but at the end of the day, I wasn't the one who awarded myself that. This is a couple of client examples. Let me make this a bit bigger for you. Ashwin Reddy, principal and owner, Tax and Super Direct. So I wanted to make it clear with this particular guy that he was the owner of the business, because when you're reaching out to other business owners, they like to be connected to owners. It's not essential. Like, if you're not an owner, it doesn't matter. But I'm just saying, like, if you are, it's an advantage. Financial planning. This is back. This is actually a little bit older. You can tell by the way LinkedIn's laid out. When keywords made a huge difference, you could actually put in like the keyword LinkedIn training in your profile 50 times and you would show up number 1. There was a guy in the US that did that. But like, ultimately, everything that I recommend on LinkedIn is aligned with the platform's objectives. Because if you align with the platform's objective, you can't go wrong when they update their algorithm, right? So you want to just describe what you do using the relevant keywords and using a variety of keywords as well. But the most important place to have keywords, your headline, in your experience, in your job title, and just in the about section. Those are the 3 places you want to have keywords, right? And you'll show up on Google search results as well. You can customize your LinkedIn profile URL. Most cases, I recommend first and last name, because you want to show up at the top of search results if people are searching for your first and last name. But you could put keywords in there, and it will help with your Google rankings. Like, you could put in Melbourne property, and your LinkedIn profile will probably show up at on the first pages of Google. Let me just answer this question. Will I be sharing these slides after the event? Yes, I'm happy to. More than happy to. I think I may have a link for them somewhere. I'll remember to do that, and I'll send you a private DM, Kevin. If anyone else wants them, just drop in the comments, and I'll send you a DM with the link. No worries at all, my friend. There's another one there. Craig, he's a performance coach, mentor. Again, credible photo, explains what he does. BOB Clubs Australia, board member, building credibility. I do want to talk now about the algorithm. So it's changed. It's not the same as it used to be. LinkedIn is looking at 3 different things: relevance, expertise, and engagement, right? So if you're posting about something that you know nothing about and it's not on your profile, LinkedIn's not going to see you as an expert, So what you want to do is have this, what you're talking about in your content, what you've got on your profile, and what you do to be aligned, right? So it's clear that this guy's been in this industry for 20 years or whatever. He's talking about it as an expert. He's a thought leader in this space. There's certain outsourced companies that build, what do they call them? They're parts of the algorithm, right? They build mathematical equations to increase the expertise of the posts that you're seeing in the newsfeed. Because LinkedIn actually outsources a lot of their algorithm creation to these data companies, and they come up with these models. And this is similar to what Wikipedia use. Google have used this company. So they look at the authors. What you need to know is they look at the author's expertise in the post subject area. They look at the relevance of the post to a specific audience, and they look at engagement. So likes, comments, shares, dwell time, how long somebody spends on the post. Comments are the most important. What kind of comments? Comments that are a bit longer than a couple of words, comments that drive replies, drive other comments. you know, a lot of this is intertwined, because once you start getting like these sort of comments, which are a little bit more insightful, that drive conversation, all of a sudden the dwell time goes from people spending like 1 minute on the post just to write a one-line comment to like 15 minutes on the post, because they're like replying to things, they're asking questions, they're thinking about what they're going to write. So it affects dwell time quite a lot. So engagement's very important. Someone hitting like, as you can imagine, doesn't really increase dwell time. It's not that big a deal. So let's like say a like is worth 1 point, a share is worth 3 points, a comment's worth 4 points, for example. Dwell time being the most important thing. Put in the chat what keywords you're going to target on your profile. Let's compare notes. I'm more than happy to give you some feedback as we go. So what are 3 keywords you're going to target on your LinkedIn profile? And while you're doing that, I'm going to move into lead generation. So what not to do. And when I say this, most people are doing this, right? Don't be salesy, okay? Don't babble about yourself. It's not about you. Don't ever assume someone has a need for what you offer. Don't ever send information that hasn't been asked for. I don't care how valuable you think it is. Hey, here's a lead magnet, and I thought, I thought you might be interested. No, I haven't asked for your lead magnet. I'm a busy man. Like, I don't have time to open your PDF. It could have a virus in it. I don't know who you are. I don't know why you're sending me this. I haven't asked for it. The way to do that, if you do have something valuable, is like, hey, I've written this document, or what do you call it? What would you call it? I've written this this free resource, this ebook, and it solves this problem. Would you like a free copy? Get their permission first. That's permission-based marketing, not interruption-based marketing. Permission-based marketing. You want permission to send it to them. They say no, that's fine. Most people will say yes, they'd be curious, right? And then that way, when you are contacting people, you're not interrupting them. If somebody has followed you or connected with you, they've done it for a reason. They think that you're offering value, so you've got to consistently show up, offering value at a consistent time intervals. Like they know that you post Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it's always valuable. They don't just expect to hear from you; they want to hear from you. That is permission-based marketing, not interruption. Because in the old days, you just interrupt enough people and you win, right? You throw enough TV ads up, interrupt enough people, you've got enough brand exposure, you win. These days, it doesn't really work like that. You need permission to get in front of get someone's attention. But getting attention is the key, right? But then you've got to hold on to that attention, and that's where that value piece and being consistent comes into it. There's a lot of work that goes into this content marketing. Trust me, it's a lot easier to throw up an ad if it works. But this way, you're actually eliminating competition, because it's just so competitive these days in every industry. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't really like competing that much. And that's why I put so much effort into positioning myself as the expert and the authority in the space, so that when I do business with people, it's people that already appreciate the value that I offer, and I don't have to spend time trying to convince them that I know what I'm doing. Ron Burgundy in the house, ladies and gentlemen. I help executive search firms dominate through profiling. Excellent. For your headline, brilliant. I'm not sure exactly what profiling is. I've got a rough idea, but assuming that executive search firms know what it is, it's a great headline. Content, B2B, writing. Brilliant, brilliant. And have a think about who you serve as well, like the target audience, the niche. Okay. Find, connect, engage, 3-step strategy. You know what? These slides would have been put together about 8 months ago, I think. And I'll tell you right now, there's a 4th step already. There's a 4th step in there. Find, connect, engage. We would find people in the target market, send them connection requests, and then send them a message to set an appointment, right? Back in the day, we would generate like 50 to 100 leads, no problem. Some companies we would generate, I think my first campaign, I generated 150 odd leads in a month. They actually cancelled. I had no lock-in contracts. They actually cancelled after the first month because they said, no, Nathaniel, we haven't had this many leads in years. We're going to need 6 months to follow them all up. There I was thinking, I've killed it. I crushed it. I'm going to keep this client forever. Gave him too many leads. So find, connect, engage. Last year, we were getting a conversion rate of about 33, 34% when we sent an invitation to connect. which is good. Like, it's a lot better than what other companies were getting. A lot of people were getting, but it wasn't like awesome. Like, we used to be getting over 50%. And so I put an extra step in between find and connect. I put in a step which I call nurture, which just means like going and looking at their profile and interacting with whatever they've posted recently. Not everyone would have posted recently, but if you use Sales Navigator, you can actually narrow down with who's posted in the last 3 months. Therefore, you can narrow it down to all the people that have. If they have posted recently, they're going to be more active on LinkedIn anyway, so they're more likely to reply. But if you go in there and you interact on their content, what you'll find is most of the people that you're reaching out to don't have a lot of interactions. So it really stands out to them. You can imagine, like, being that guy that's like posted on LinkedIn for a few months, gets like 1 or 2 comments here and there, and then all of a sudden, like, gets this comment from somebody. It's like, oh, look, I got a comment, like, excited. Dopamine gets released in their brain. That is a really positive brain chemical to be released when you're trying to start a relationship with somebody, right? And so the invitation to acceptance rate went from 34%, like I was saying, to 88% once we introduced the nurture step, right? And then you want to set an appointment, and I'll show you some scripts that you can use to do that. When you're finding people to connect with, you have to use the advanced search feature. Doesn't matter if you do the free version or Sales Navigator. The free version is just as good. You just want to target second-degree connections, people that know the same people you do. You want to use industry to narrow down, and you want to use job title and location, right? And you might only have like 100 people show up in the search results the first time you do it. And everyone goes, well, what do I do when I've contacted the 100 people and I've run out? You won't run out, because if you send 100 people connection requests and then 50 of them accept, your second-degree network, the people that have mutual connections with you, will increase. So next time you do a search, there'll be like 400 or 500 people, and then next time there'll be a few thousand people. So you won't run out. You'll actually, the more first-degree network people you get, the wider your second-degree network becomes, especially if they're targeted. I hope that makes sense. Let's make this bigger. All right, so the advanced search features, these are the ones you want to look at. If you want a copy of the slides, DM me afterwards. I will share these with you. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. We've got to keep moving. You can add connections a bunch of different ways. Again, just reach out to people, use that search feature, reach out to people that are engaging with your content. Always write a personalized, customized invitation. You will need some version of premium now to do this. Use anything you can that's in common with them. I am also a member of the Social Media Thought Leaders group on LinkedIn. I've really enjoyed reading your posts. The piece you shared a week or 2 ago about PR was thought-provoking. I mean, this is basic stuff. If you want a copy of my templates, go to bibby.consulting/templates. I've got a bunch of these in here. I'm not going to dwell too much on them. Enjoyed watching your videos. This is an influencer I contacted about marketing automation, keen to learn more about what you do. Notice we share some mutual connections too. I thought I'd reach out to connect. Very basic stuff. This is what most people are sending out. This is one from my inbox. You don't want to do this, right? So it's just like, aside from the English not being correct, it's all about them. We are a certified digital marketing company. We have 10,000 clients. Who cares? I don't know you, man. Show interest in the other person. That's not going to work. It's too long, right? Just this quick one to say thanks for accepting my invite. The idea is now we're connected. Hopefully we can find time for a face-to-face. Just to see if maybe my product might be of value to your clients. I'd really appreciate that opportunity. Regards, Ben. Another one from my inbox. Hey, not bad in terms of the length and the way that it started out, and it's pretty conversational. What is just completely messed up, right, is basically from face-to-face, comma, onwards. That's where it's messed up. It's all going well. The entire is now connected. Hopefully we can find a time for a face-to-face. I love it. And then he says, just to see if maybe my product might be of value to your clients. I'd really appreciate that opportunity. See, what could he do to make that better? What he could have done is say, hey, face-to-face, just to see if your product might be of value to my clients. So just position the value in terms of the person you're sending it to. Because what I would expect that Ben's talking about here is like some sort of mutually beneficial referral arrangement, right? But he's just worded it in the way of value to him instead of the value to the person he's sending it to. I'd really appreciate that opportunity. you immediately come across like you're trying to get something by saying, I really appreciate that opportunity. So, and these days, like, regards, Ben, that's the old form of LinkedIn. Like, it was more like an email message back then. Now it's a chat. As soon as you start putting regards and things in there, you're just trying a little bit too hard. Not saying you can't do it, but just be mindful of doing it. Like, some people will do it in the invitation, then in the message. You just do it once if you're going to do it. This one says, hi, John, I've had a look at your profile. Interested in catching up. We are seeking someone in the building industry who is serious about their growth objectives, and it seems like there could be an ideal fit. How are you placed for a telephone chat over the next few days? Regards, Tim. Tim was a client of mine about 7 or 8 years ago, was in some serious cash flow problems. He needed to pay off some finance that he had for one of his developments really quick. He needed to get like 50 leads within a month or something. So this message is very direct, right? We are seeking someone, not we are, because people will stuff this up all the time. They will say, we are seeking building companies. They'll say that. So like, there's lots of them, or any of them will do. We are seeking one building company. We're looking for one who is serious about their growth objectives. So that could be, it might not be. It seems like there could be a fit, but we need to find out some more information just to have a chat. How are you placed for a telephone chat in the next few days? I'm not going to waste your time. Don't waste mine. I'm ready to go. Being direct, people will click on his name and read his profile and they go, okay, this guy's a serious guy. His profile is well optimized. And he got a bunch of leads out of this and solved the problem that he was in financially. So you might say that's a very direct message. It's not very friendly and whatever. Got results. Maureen, if any of you heard me speak before, you may have heard about Maureen's story. She sells property that's being built in Australia, like off the plan property, but in Singapore. And we targeted CEOs that live in Singapore that went to university in Australia. So being a bit creative with how you use the LinkedIn search feature, because they went to university in Australia, they've got some ties here, most likely Aussies, living in Singapore, expatriate lifestyle, building up some wealth to invest later on in property in Australia would make sense. So they're the perfect type of client, really. We reached out to 500 CEOs that live in Singapore that went to university in Australia. 277 accepted the invitation. Sent them all a message inviting them to a property seminar. 42 people showed up. Again, that was in a month. Maureen's been doing this repeatedly every month for a few years now, and it's made her millions and millions of dollars for free, no ads. It's perfect people to get along to a seminar. Like before, she was writing newspapers in the Straits Times in Singapore, hoping to get a few people to show up. Now it's like packed every time. She's building relationships with people. Most, Aussies that live in Singapore know who she is. Fantastic. I made this one a bit bigger. This is the College for Adult Learning, 122 leads within month one of their campaign, targeting HR managers. HR managers are on LinkedIn because they're recruiting people, right? We did 3 sectors: healthcare, food production, not-for-profit. You can see the conversion rates. I mean, look at that. Not-for-profit, 40% of people that we messaged booked in for an appointment. Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. This guy does commercial fit-outs, Dean. 30 days, he was having 2 potential client meetings a day. Fantastic. Yeah, 41% conversion rate from the message. That's outstanding, right? It's just a result of being targeted. 75 leads from only 241 invitations. It's just that's how targeted we were, right? We only sent 241 invitations, 183 of them accepted. Huge acceptance rate. And then you got to follow up, because only 8% of people follow up 5 times. You've got to follow up more than 5 times if you want to get a sale. Like, let's make this bigger, shall we? Okay. 80% of sales require 5 follow-ups after the initial contact, but 45% of salespeople give up after 1. So if you want to be in the top like 80%, top 10 or 20% of salespeople, just follow up more than once. Follow up 5 times, you're going to be outperforming most salespeople in the world, right? So what is it? 8% do follow up after 5 rejections, or not rejections, but just 5. People are so busy these days. You're going to need to be followed up. Like, I know that for me, for example, I'm like, I need to get a new computer, and I make an inquiry, and then before I know it, I'm busy with other things. I don't have time to think about it. that, if the guy that's been ringing me repeatedly and following up, he's the guy that eventually, when I get a minute, I'm going to call back. So it makes a world of difference just following up. Obviously do it respectfully. Don't annoy people, but make sure that you don't devalue yourself by not following up. If you're in sales, be a professional. The professional salesperson follows up to either get a no or a yes. Like, they're not giving you a no, then there's no reason to stop following up. I'm going to skip this bit about pipe drive because we're running out of time here. It's CRM. Most people fail because they're impatient, right? We'll just cover this bit to wrap up with. I'm skipping around too much. So most people fail because they're impatient or they're selfish, right? That's what these slides that I was skipping through were. So that's somebody that's being impatient. And this is a little video of Mr. Bean not sharing his popcorn with his date there and being selfish, right? So you've got to be in it for the long haul. You've got to commit to serving a single audience, sharing a certain topic for like 12 months. It's not going to take 12 months, but you need to just have that mindset of like, I'm going to commit to this for a year, because the results will come like within 6 months for sure, maybe even quicker than that. It depends how consistent you are. Like when I started posting content after taking a break, and I started in December, like 2 months in, I wasn't really getting that much traction, but I was like going harder because I've done it before. I know how it works. I'm at the part where most people give up. So I just go harder. And I remember my partner at the time and my friends would say to me, maybe you should try something else. Maybe you should get a job. And I was like, yeah, okay, guys. Like, yeah, I knew exactly what was happening. And sure enough, like wasn't a few weeks later, I broke through and got a bunch of leads, leveled up, got a lot more engagement. And yeah, so like if you do that, if you just double down when things are tough, you will do a lot better. Yasmin, Alex got the same story. Most content creators, you'll know, have had periods where no one's watching and they stay consistent, right? It's very important. So if you're unfocused, you're reactive, you're not in control, you're unsure about the future, there's no breathing room, you're flustered, you're second guessing. Because what happens when you're unfocused? When you don't have a strategy and you're just waking up and you're thinking about what to post for the day, you don't actually know. The biggest thing is you don't know what to say no to. Like everything could be a yes, because you're just like, I'm going to just do all this. You waste all this time on LinkedIn, right? Because you just, I'm going to do everything. I'm going in on LinkedIn, but you don't have a strategy. You got to be focused, proactive, in control. You got to know exactly what to say yes to, what to say no to. You need a long-term vision. If it doesn't get results, your post doesn't get results today, it doesn't upset you because you know where you're going long-term. You're relaxed, you're calm, you're confident, you're easily making decisions. My content plan every year is mapped out at the start of the year. Do I, change it as I go through the year? Yes. Do I add extra stuff? Yes. Is there stuff I don't do? Yes. But the point is, I go into it with an intention. I go into it with goals, and I go into it with what's, and it's always interesting to measure what worked and what didn't, because you learn so much. What did I say the biggest trends were going to be this year? Video. I mean, I know exactly what to focus on because I laid that out at the start of the year. You've got to have a planner. So if you haven't got one, go to bibby.consulting/planner and get one, because I offer a free one every year because it's so important. You can put in your numbers, your targets. You can put in your content pillars, your content topics in there. It's really important. So that's all we've got time for today. I'm going to just bring this off the thing. And what I suggest doing for this week, between now and next week's Monday Night Live, is sending out 100 invitations to people in your target market to connect. And then when they join your network, just send them a quick message saying, hey, thanks for connecting. Hey, what I like to do every month is I pick a handful of people that I reach out to and have a call with just to see if I can add some value. Do you have a spare 15 minutes over the next week? Have some conversations with people and just take the pressure off. Don't make it about sales, but like just say, you know what? Like I think, and I'm not saying you have to say all of this, but like just having this mindset, write a short message. You say business is all about relationships, and for me, that starts with a conversation. So why don't we hop on a call, see if I can help? And if they say, oh, what are you trying to sell me? Just say, oh, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just find that businesses grow when your relationships grow, and I was just going to see if there's a way that I could add value to what you're doing. And sometimes that could be introducing somebody, could be sharing some insights, or it could be doing some business. But don't come across as a salesperson. Don't go in there with an intention of selling to somebody that doesn't have the problem that you solve. You have to ask the questions to find out if they have the problem that you solve, and if they tell you like, oh yes, I need, like, let's say you're in marketing. Oh yes, I need more leads. I don't have enough leads. I can't grow my business. It's so stressful. Actually helped several businesses in a similar situation to what you're in right now. Would it be okay if I shared what we did together with them and see if it's of value to you? You have to ask for permission before you start telling them about what you do. Ask for permission. It makes the world of difference. Your conversion rates will go through the roof if you get permission. Same at the start of the call. Like when you hop on the phone call, like they're probably wondering what's going to happen on this call. You've got to take control of it straight away. Say, hey, thanks for making the time to catch up today. So the purpose of this call is for me to find out a bit about what you do, share a little bit about what I do, and then just see if it makes sense for us to continue the conversation. So on that basis, is it okay if I just ask you some questions and take some notes while I go? Yes, you're getting permission. They're thinking, oh my God, this guy's got a really structured setup. He's going to take control of the conversation. I can just relax into this. Because what they're going to be thinking as soon as they get on the phone call is this guy trying to take something from me, or is he going to add value? They're probably assuming already that you're going to take something, that you're going to be a salesperson. So you just have to knock that bias on the head straight away. That's where having a script becomes important, right? If you're going to remember anything of Monday Night Live tonight, remember that, or today, I should say. That's really important. Frame that conversation up front. You guys have a successful week in business. I'll be cheering you on from the sidelines. Stay legendary. Make sure you don't miss the next few weeks of Monday Night Live. We've got industry-specific events. I've got one for real estate, one for law firms, one for coaches coming up over the next few weeks. And I've got a bunch of guests coming on. We've got some really interesting LinkedIn creators coming on. I've got an Instagram specialist and lots of cool things in the pipeline. So thanks for being here, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, do share it with your network. Send me a DM and let me know your feedback. And until next week, stay legendary. Peace. Thanks for watching.